Today, let's learn how to create a 3D hand lettering design using Illustrator and Cinema 4D. It's going to be a super fun tutorial, so without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here we are in Adobe Illustrator. I have created a new artboard which is 1000 by 1000 pixels in size. So let's start by typing our text. Now you can type any text that you want to, and also you can use different number of fonts to try out different number of styles. So in this case, I'm going to type in the same as we saw in the example. So let's type in a text pursue. This is one of my favorite codes, so I'm going to go with this one. And for the font, I'll use a Bison bold italic. Let's increase the size a bit. And also I need to adjust the kerning a little bit. I want the letters to be a bit closer to each other's. Alright, so here we have our first text. Let's hold Alt and drag it to create a new copy. And this is going to be my second text, which is going to be originality. I hope the spelling is correct. And for this one, I'm going to use a different font, which is going to be more of a script font, which looks like a hand lettering, and it looks pretty good. So I thought of using this font. You can obviously try out different number of fonts to create different number of looks and design. So let's right click and create outlines for both of our text. Now this eye doesn't go well with the design, that dot of the eye. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, so I'm going to delete that. So let's actually just double click to select that and isolate it and delete it. Alright, so now let's select it and combine it using the Pathfinder, or unite it using the Pathfinder. Now if you don't see this Pathfinder option, you can go into Windows and there you should find it. So there we go. Let's actually give it a different color so it's easy to see, and then right click, transform and shear it. So for this, I'm going to turn on the preview, go with the vertical axis, and for the shear angle, I'm going to set this to -7. That looks good. Maybe it's a bit too much. Let's go with -6. Yep, that is proper. Hit OK, and let's drag it holding shift to the place where you want to keep it. I'm going to place it something like just a bit like so. That looks good to me. Maybe I'm gonna scale this down a bit, holding shift. Okay, that is looking good. Now select the layer, go into object, path, and offset path. I'm gonna offset this by 5 pixels. That looks good. Hit OK and give it a different color. So just to visualize it more properly. Then select the gray text, ungroup that. Select it again and select the dots of the eye as well. Hit Ctrl G to group them up. Then I can go into the layer panel and hide that. Now I can select all the shapes. First of all, let's select the pink shapes and unite them. And then select all the shapes, go into the shape builder tool and then hold Alt to delete it, just like so. You just need to click it. If you have spaces like that, you can just drag it using your mouse. So as you can see, I need to delete that small bits as well so that our design looks clean. There we go. Now we can turn on our second text, and this is looking very nice as you can see already. And I want to delete this shapes. I don't want that because in the extrusion they won't look that great. So I'm going to just select them and double click to isolate them, delete it, select this one, delete it. Yeah, that is looking good. And maybe I'll delete this one as well. So just double click to isolate it and delete it. Okay, everything else looks good to me. Let's select it and give it maybe a different color. So here we have our hand lettering kind of, you can say, design ready. So now we need to split them into different parts. But before splitting, let's add an accent to the originality text. And to do that, I can select the text tool and into the font, I believe it was the absolute swashes, that's what it's called, I guess. And we just need this one, so I can delete everything else. There we go. Let's make this a bit bigger. Right click and create outlines. I'm going to place it right over here. Maybe increase the size a bit. Okay, this is looking good. Let's rotate this a bit. And I don't want this dot that you see right here, so I can just double click, isolate it and delete it. Maybe let's stretch this a bit. Okay, so this is looking very nice. Let's give it a different color. Okay, so let's select just the pursue text, that is the top text, and hit Ctrl X to cut it up. Go into file, create a new document. I'm going to keep it 1000 by 1000 pixels. Call this pursue. Hit Ctrl V to paste it up. Then select our second text. As you can see, we have a dot right here, which I don't want. So let's delete that. Okay, let's select it, hit Ctrl X, file, new, and call this originality. Hit Ctrl V, and there we go. Now we can save them. So hit Ctrl S and pursue, hit OK. Now this is very important that you set the version to Illustrator 8, because that is how Cinema 4D is going to read this file. If you set it to any other version, Cinema 4D won't read it. So it's very important. Let's save this as well. Call this originality, save, Illustrator 8, hit OK. Now let's jump into Cinema 4D. Go into File, Merge. First, I'll add the pursue file, hit OK. And then let's add the file, Merge, Originality, hit OK. So now you can see it's not at the center. Our main center is right here. So to fix this, I can add a cube. And then we need this tool or this option, which is transfer. You can also go ahead and search it into the customized palette if you want, and you can type in transfer, and then you can just drag and drop it right here. So what we need to do is select the cube and then select the transfer option. And now I can select the text that I want to switch to. So I can just switch the text, then select the pursue, click on the cube, and then it's going to take the position of the cube. Now we can delete it. There we go. Now as you can see, our design is messed up a bit. So let's select the originality text and bring this down. Now I'm going to try to eyeball it just to place it into the position. So I think it's pretty much into the position. Yep. Let's select all the paths now. Then right click and connect object and delete. So it's going to turn all the paths into one single path. Let's give it the same name, pursue. Let's delete this pursue one. Then go into originality, select all the 4 paths, right click, connect object and delete, and give it the same name. Hit Ctrl C to copy it, drag it below, double click, Ctrl V to paste it. So there we have our pursue and the originality. Now let's make them 3D and extruded. So to do that, I'm going to add an extrusion and drop the pursue into that. Let's duplicate it, holding Ctrl and dragging it. Let's delete the pursue and drag the originality. So just for the sake, I'm just going to rename this to O and this one to P so we don't get messed up. All right, so now we have our text into 3D, and as you can see, it's looking very nice. Now what I can do is go into the extrude property. Let's make some room right here. And I'm going to set the extrusion to around 5000. And for this one as well. And for the renderer, I'll be using Redshift, but you can achieve this kind of renders using the native Cinema 4D render, the physical or the standard render as well. But I'm going to go with Redshift because I'm more comfortable working in that. You can also use Octane if you want to. So I'm going to launch the Redshift render viewer and just drag and drop it right here. Let's launch that up, go into settings, and pretty quickly set up my renderer to Redshift. For the minimum samples, I'm going to go with 200, and for maximum samples, set it to 200, and for maximum, I'll go with 300. For the GI, I'm going to go with the primary GI engine as the brute force, and for the secondary GI engine, I'll go with the photon map. And that is pretty much it. Let's launch up a Redshift camera really quick. And I'm going to make this a 25mm. Get a nice angle right here. If something like that looks good to me. And then for the lights, I can add a dome light because we will be using an HDRI. So let's go right here and lettering and add a studio HDRI. And by the way, the project file will be provided to you guys in the description, so it's absolutely free. You can go ahead and download it, so you'll get all the assets that I'm using into this tutorial. For the exposure, let's pump that up to 3. Okay, so already it has started to look very nice, as you can see. So let's go into let's actually come out of the camera first. Let's take a bit close up so you guys can see it more properly, and then go into the extrude properties, into the caps, and change the start cap to fill cap and the end cap to fill cap as well. For the radius, I'm going to set this to 2, like so. So you see we have this nice edges, as you can see. Same with this one as well. Let's set this to fill cap and bring this down to 2. So if I jump back into my camera, you can see now it's looking much better. Now let's go ahead and give them some really nice material. So let's go create Redshift material, and let's call this 201 because this is on material number 1. Double click to open that up, go into edit shader, and now we need to build up a very nice material so our design looks more better. So let's actually unlink this first of all. This is our main RS material. This is our output. So the first thing that we need is an RS material blender. So I'm going to add a material blender right here and set the output to the output surface, and then attach the first RS material as our base color. So base material, base color. Then let's add a color correction node. And I'm going to put this color correction node into the reflection roughness. All right. And for the reflection roughness, I will be using a texture. So let's add a texture node, connect it to the input. And for the texture node, I'll be using this old soft texture that I have. Hit OK. And for the color, I can go with a nice pink color, something like so. Let's actually drag and drop it onto our text so you guys can see it, what we are doing right here. So you can see we have this really nice material. Let's change the projection to cubic, and as you can see, it's looking very, very nice. Some nice roughness, nice reflections. Let's actually go back into the edit shader, and for the color, I'll use a color code that I already have. So let's set this to 340. This one to 71 looks good, and this one to 78. So I was pretty close. Hit OK. And for the reflection roughness, I'll go with 0.4 because I don't want too much of reflection, or maybe let's go with 0.5. So that is looking good. Now I want to add some edges to appear at the border of our text. So to do that, what we need is we need a material. So let's add a material. And this is going to be our layer 1 color. For this one, I'm going to set this to white color. Let's add a curvature. And also I'm going to add a ramp. Now these two things are going to help us to achieve that nice white border at the edges of our design. So let's actually connect them pretty quick. Input, and let's connect the ramp. This is going to be our layer 1 blend color. All right, now I don't see anything happening because we need to go into the input and change the source from view map to alt. So you can see this nice white lines right here appearing at the edges of the text. You can always change the gradient to get the intensity really high of the white text, or you can also play around with the curvature to increase that. You can see we get kind of a rusty metal look that would look very great with this effect, I believe. So let's set this to convex actually, and as you can see this looks very nice, but I want a very clean look, so I'm gonna keep it very minimal. And let's actually drag this a bit. So that is looking very nice. As you can see, very cool look. It adds a bit of highlight to the design, I feel. Very nice. Let's duplicate this. So hold control and drag it to create a new copy. Let's rename this to O2 and give it a nice blue color. So this time I'm going to go with 218 for this one. Let's set this to 77, and for this one I'll set it to 79. So we have a nice blue color, and drag and drop it onto the originality text. So now you can see our design is pretty much ready and looking very nice, good to go. So let's go back into our camera. Let's adjust this a bit. All right, so I'm liking this. You can also achieve some really nice close-up using the redshift. So using the redshift camera. So to do that, I'm going to just hold control and duplicate the camera. Switch to that, and let's get some nice close-up shots. Now to achieve a nice depth of field, what you need to do is go into the redshift camera tag, go into the bokeh effect, enable that, and increase the power. Now you need to go into the camera, and now you can adjust the focus distance just like so. Now you can see we have some really nice depth of field. So let's pretty quickly render this scene. I'm going to go into redshift and turn off the force enabled IPR. So it's going to take a few seconds to render, and let's see what we get. So there we go. As you can see, we get this really nice depth of field. The render is pretty nice and clean. So yeah, that is, I think, all. And I highly recommend you guys to go ahead and try out some different, text and typography and, fonts and stuff like that to achieve a very cool effect. So yeah, that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Also, before we leave, if you guys need any kind of After Effects template and stuff like that, then do check out my Video Hive portfolio by the name Mean Machine, and I'll provide the link down in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.